As Matt mentioned, my name is Mike Bellamente, and I'm the Director of Climate Counts. If you'd like to know more about who I am and what we do, I apologize, but I'm short on time. So if you'd like to come by our table next door after this session, I'd be happy to talk to you. But for the next 7.5 minutes, I'm going to give you some tips on how to bring sustainability into your business, into your organization. Hang on to your hats. It's going to be a very quick 7.5 minutes. Jay gave the 30,000-foot level. I'm going to bring it down to what you can do to establish a ground game for sustainability. But first, we're going to talk about why. Why do you care? Wood mentioned the 400 parts per million, and this is a very big number, and this is a number that probably doesn't mean too much to you or me as an individual, but it means a lot to people with very smart brains and very nice lab coats. It also means a lot to the future of where we're going with our fossil fuels. They say we have 5 times the amount of fossil fuels that's safe to burn without tipping the climate change scale to be runaway climate change. From the natural resources perspective, they say we're operating at a deficit. They say that we'd need 2 Earths by 2050 to satiate demand for the amount of humans on Earth today. Another way put is that in 1961, we were at 74% of biocapacity. By 2012, we were at 156% of biocapacity. Third way to put this is that humans have really big feet. But what does this mean to me as a business? What does this mean to you? Well, for those in this room, it's about bringing it down to what you can do. And you say, well, I'm just a small business, and what kind of environmental impact can I really have? I'd say 44% of small and medium-sized business comprise our national GDP, our gross domestic product. And it takes every one of us to operate sustainably, to change that, and to be the storytellers. Because at the end of the day, in a free market economy, whether it's flawed or not, our economy is judged by and determining the health of the economy by how much we produce and how much we consume. Because at the end of the day, people need jobs and people need stuff. But I would argue that people could do with less stuff. And the stuff that we do use should be built to last, built in a way that could be repaired, built in a way that is more harmonious with our natural world, from design to development and everywhere in between. Because when you have oil companies admitting that there's a link and a correlation between carbon emissions and climate change, you know it's time to motivate. It's time to motivate not just as nonprofits, but as businesses, as government, and as a society. Because if we wait for environmentalists to do this, it won't be able to get done. Again, we all have to become the storytellers and the marketers to make this change from a consumption paradigm and a throwaway society to something that's more harmonious with the natural world. So how do we do it? How do we do it? What are those ingredients that I was talking to make a sustainable business? It begins with leadership. It begins with having somebody at the top who's willing to stick their neck out and to embrace sustainability concepts and to invest not only in the future of their organization, but in the future of the world. Not at the cost of profits of today, but in line with strict business principles that allows you to achieve financial performance and environmental performance. Why do I use Winston Churchill for this slide? Because if I put up a picture of this guy, you'd have no idea who I'm talking about. But you should, because this guy is Paul Pullman. He's the CEO of a $70 billion company. Unilever in 2010 committed to double the size of their business while reducing by half their environmental footprint by 2020 through their sustainable living plan. Very audacious goal. This man is walking the talk in the most sincerest of terms. If you don't know Unilever, on any given day, you probably use one of their products. They have over 400 brands in over 50 different countries around the world. So beyond leadership, what do you need? You need employee engagement. You need empowerment. And you need sustainability to be decentralized. You need everybody to have skin in the game across the organization. Because if you have sustainability as one guy in one department, it's very difficult to move mountains. In the case of Unilever, from the guy who makes the shampoo to the guy who packages the shampoo, everybody's financial bonus structure is tied to environmental performance. Which brings us to what we need next. We need metrics. We need some type of guideline to know what we're using and where it's going. From what kind of gasoline or how much gasoline we're putting in our trucks and our fleet, to the amount of purchased electricity that we have in our operations, to our upstream and downstream waste patterns and what our suppliers are doing. We need all these things to understand what we have, what we're using, in order to establish goals and say, here's where we are today, but here's where we want to be tomorrow, and here's what we're going to do to get there, and to build processes. The saying goes, reduce what you can, offset the rest. And from there, once you have those processes in place, once you have the leadership, once you have the metrics, once you have the goals, it's about recording your progress, saying, here's where we're not doing so well, here's where we're doing great, here's where we could do a little bit better, revising those goals, and then going back to it and saying, okay, here's our story, let's tell it. Let's communicate that to our external shareholders, our stakeholders, our consumers, and our suppliers and our business partners. For we all know today, news isn't about one guy sitting behind a news desk. It's not about a newsman. We all create our own news. Anybody can have the next viral video if you tell the right story at the right time in the right way. So when you do go out to tell your story, tell it in a way that's compelling. Tell it in a way that it inspires people and it gets your message across. That it differentiates from the millions of other things that people are hearing on any given day in any given environment. This guy seems to have a knack for it. So if you think a lute or a mandolin will help, go and buy a lute or a mandolin. Just make sure it's sustainably produced. Our friends at Stonyfield have been doing this well for years, taking causal, creative marketing to new heights and making a profit along the way. Some of you out in the audience are saying to yourself, this is cool and all, but it's not for me. We're a small operation. We need to make widgets. We don't have the resources. We don't have the capacity to worry about sustainability. And to that, I'd say, think big. Start small. Prioritize relentlessly. Because there's always that low-hanging fruit that you can begin with. We heard it from Jay. We heard it from the rest. You always have something you can do, and then grow from that. Build off that. There's a lot of signs out there telling you which way to go, which way is the right way to go. Ignore the signs. You're the only one within your organization who knows your organization, knows what risk you can take, know what return on investments you need to be a successful company. You got to make your own signs. And once you become that next Stonyfield or that next Unilever, that next Timberland, share your story. Share your best practices, pay it forward. You want people to learn from your success. You want people to stand on those shoulders of giants so they can build on what you've done. Because at the end of the day, you're not just building a better world for you and your family. You're building a better world for the generations to come after us. Thank you.